All right, party people. We're into the big home stretch. So cool to be able to welcome in the guy who is so much a part of the show from the very beginning. He is San Francisco in so many ways. He writes his column for the Marina Times there in the warm confines of the Royal Grounds there on Polk Street. He calls himself the Culture Blaster, my friends, and he comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder, my friends.
Hey, hi, Mark. Hi, John. Hi, Kim. I don't know what to say about Rasta Charlie Brown, except to suggest that I like peanuts with my jerk chicken.
All right. Aka. Right, there you go.
Jerk chicken. I love the right. Anyway, guys, so much excitement in the sports world. Christian McCaffrey's joining
that
the 49ers.
I didn't even get to. Thank you. I was waiting for you. Christian McCaffrey, tell everyone, huge Niners acquisition.
Right. He was a star at Stanford, and they passed on him in the draft and chose instead Solomon Thomas a couple of years ago. And he's one of the 2 or 3 best running backs and one of the most versatile offensive players in all of football. He's had some injury issues of late, but what an acquisition for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Christian McCaffrey will be joining them on the field, I hope, against the evil Kansas City Chiefs, who are coming to Levi Stadium on Sunday. And I just want to make one more quick point about sports. I've been actually, since last weekend, I've been listening to LA sports radio when I get a chance, or as I like to call it, Schadenfreude radio, because, were they upset about the Dodgers losing? I drink their bitter tears, Mark. And
I know. All of our friends who are streaming in Southern California, this show, I've told you this before, as Giants fans, can't say we hate when the Dodgers get lose, but just say
no. You know what? Because the Yankees are still in the playoffs, I do want to say a couple weeks have passed, and I'm still thrilled about that single-season home run record. Man, it's hard to imagine anyone can top 73 home runs. Cheers for the immortal Barry Bonds. Wait, what? Aaron Judge? No. Barry Bonds. Woo!
Oh, that's great. Well, you can see you're in Giants country when it comes to baseball conversations. The Christian McCaffrey thing is good. The guy, as you say, he catches and runs just as well. I mean, he's a remarkable. His big thing is staying healthy. So we'll have to see. Hope that he can stay injury free. All right, let's get to some movies.
Okay, now obviously Dwayne Johnson always wanted to be a superhero, or maybe he already fancied he was one. He started his career as a pro wrestler, and he fought under the name The Rock. And if that doesn't sound super heroic or super villainous, I will eat my rare mint first printing of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. Because, wow, The Rock, he's pitted himself against all manners of other superpowered beings in his head. So we all know the story. Johnson transitioned from one theatrical endeavor, pro wrestling, to another, the film industry. And he's now one of the biggest movie stars in the world, primarily as an action hero, but also able to kind of utilize a light, self-deprecating comic touch. It belies his muscle-bound, shaven-headed image. And that brings us to Black Adam, a noisy, colorful, sloppily written, big-budget movie based on a second-tier DC Comics villain who's, this is interesting, Mark, his rights were acquired, the rights to this character, acquired decades ago from the now-defunct Fawcett Comics Company because of a long-running legal tussle over the character of the original Captain Marvel. That guy was the Superman-like hero who was a pubescent boy until he uttered the magical word, Shazam. So Black Adam was Captain Marvel's evil opposite number. Okay, born Teth Adam, an Egyptian slave from ancient times, he was given the same powers as Captain Marvel, but misused them. And of course, he and Captain Marvel faced off for many, many years in the comic books. So more recently at DC, Black Adam has become kind of an anti-hero, defending his fictional home country, Kandak, from grasping Westerners, even joining the Justice League now and then. And that's the Black Adam that Dwayne Johnson decided he should play on screen. And so he convinced the DC movie honchos, who, by the way, they're not known for their track record. This is not like Marvel where they slay project after project, but he convinced these guys to let him star in this blockbustery mediocrity, which, by the way, was directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, a guy who's actually made a few really watchable movies, including the Liam Neeson action films Unknown, Nonstop, and The Commuter. I really love The Commuter. But this guy also made the lame Disney Jungle Cruise movie starring, guess who? Dwayne Johnson. Anyway, as for Black Adam, the movie, Johnson is right at home smashing things and growling at enemies and even growling at those who admire him, very much like the World Wrestling Federation here. And in a nutshell, the character is awakened after 5,000 years of suspended animation to save Kahndaq from its evil resurrected ruler, and he doesn't care who he kills to save the country. There's a laudable subtext about an oppressed people's right to self-determination, right?
Sure, exactly.
Still, Teth Adam is trashing the whole place in the name of saving it. Who will stop his destructive campaign? Enter an updated version of DC's Golden Age superhero team, the Justice Society, not the Justice League. Anyway, this grouping of heroes consists of two veterans. Aldous Hodge plays the winged, mace-wielding Hawkman, and Pierce Brosnan, one of the classic James Bonds, plays the magical spellcasting Dr. Fate, who, by the way, predates Marvel's Doctor Strange, but who comes off here kind of like a doctor come lately. Anyway, there were also two newbies, Cyclone, the teenage mistress of the winds, and Atom Smasher, a size-changing powerhouse. None of them have enough screen time for anyone to care much about them. In fact, Black Adam is just a framework to introduce Johnson to the DC movie universe, to have him fight everybody he encounters, like it's, a CGI version of the WWF, and to toss in a few DC Easter eggs that suggest more Black Adam down the line. Plus, it never, ever specifically references the pretty decent Shazam movie that actually has a sequel on the way. Let me emphasize here, I don't have superhero fatigue. I loved.
Yeah, you can't get enough of it. You love this stuff. And for those who may not recall, Michael Snyder, deep comic book background, animation background, et cetera. And he brings all of that ongoing love to all of these reviews. So he's not like a guy who's just sort of being dragged kicking and screaming to this stuff. But this one missed for you.
I love She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the recently ended Marvel miniseries, for instance. But this is just charmless tedium with The Rock playing The Rock, only in a spandex costume and shooting lightning bolts out of his fingers. And maybe they should have just gone for it. Black Adam versus white male oppressor. I would have really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah. I will tell you, a laudable is a ding word, please. And then we get this from the text line. Again, in YouTube, you can just text. Karen D says, Michael, who owns the Justice League franchise?
DC Comics, but they were preceded in the, oh boy, talk about deep dives. I'll make this fast. They were preceded in the 40s by the first superhero team, the Justice Society. And then when all of those characters and their popularity petered out and DC pivoted to Westerns and romance and detective stuff, they kind of disappeared until the late 50s and early 60s when they revived the characters as, the various heroes as different heroes with different backstories and created the Justice League.
What?
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, one more thing. You mentioned cultural appropriation. Isn't Johnson like Polynesian? He's definitely not Egyptian, and he's definitely not Khandakian. So what the hey?
Yeah, no, it's a new thing where they want you to be the very ethnicity of the character you're portraying. That's for another time. I'd love to talk about that, though. I think it's a real craziness that exists now when it comes to the culture of entertainment and political correctness, but that for another time. All right, what's the next movie?
Okie dokie. Oh, Black Adam is in theaters, and if you care, if you care.
It's missable, right. Says Michael Short.
Yes.
Michael Snyder.
From the ridiculous to the sublime, Mark, I got a great one for you. The Banshees of Inisherin effortlessly mixes the comic and the tragic. It is one of my favorite movies of the year, bar none. Definitely going to make my top 10 for 2022. I had a good feeling about it when I realized that it reunited actors Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell with writer-director Martin McDonagh, and they previously collaborated on McDonagh's very smart and prickly modern-day crime comedy In Bruges. This time out, the setting is not a town in Belgium, but a remote island off the western coast of Ireland, and the year is 1923, back during the Irish Civil War, although the denizens of Inisherin Island seem to pay very little mind to what they refer to as the Troubles, instead going about their bucolic business. In any case, taciturn fiddle player Colm, played by Gleeson.
Taciturn is a ding. Thank you. Go ahead, yes.
Played by Gleeson, and the naive and garrulous cowherder Patrick, played by Farrell, have been friends forever, meeting at the island's pub on a windswept cliff every day in the afternoon until suddenly, one day, Colm doesn't show up. So when Pedrick tracks down Colm and asks him why he wasn't there at the usual spot, Colm says he no longer wants to be friends, period. Offers no further explanation. This baffles Pedrick, who can't understand how it could happen, and he refuses to just accept the situation, asking for help in the matter from his long-suffering sister Siobhan, played by the always reliable Kerry Condon, and even the local yokel Dominic, played by the idiosyncratic and sometimes disturbing Barry Keoghan. You may remember him from The Killing of a Sacred Deer. He was in The Eternals. He's actually the new Joker in the Batman movies. All this does is make matters worse, with Colm reacting in a dark, funny, and very shocking way. The Banshees of Inisherin is a beautiful movie on the visual front, with such a stark backdrop. The great work by the entire cast truly pops, with Gleeson and especially Farrell giving performances that are among their career best. In fact, I will go further. I'll say Farrell has never been better. His Pedrick deserves all the praise, nominations, and awards. He and Gleeson have now done 2 bracing and memorable movies with McDonagh. I'm looking forward to their next collab. Meanwhile, I can't praise the Banshees of Inisherin enough, but I just gave it a try. It's in theaters.
Yeah, that sounds terrific. Love it. Okay. What's next?
A far more controversial story, and a conventional period movie tells a horrifying true story with undeniable power and socio-political relevance today. It's called Till, and Till introduces Emmett Till, a good-natured 14-year-old boy from Chicago who was visiting relatives in small-town Mississippi. And here's the problem. As a black kid in the South, circa 1955, which is when this is set, Emmett made the mistake of acting flippant with a white woman working the counter of a local store, and the rest is ugly, ugly history.
And just by the way, for the record, he may not have been flippant even. I mean, right? And that wasn't necessarily, that was what they said. Isn't that right, Michael? Or is that what
right? He's jocular. Yeah, he's just, okay. It's how you perceive of what goes on. He's like mildly flirtatious, but not really. And oh, baby, this horrifying. Results in the lynching of a 14-year-old boy by insane white bigots. So Emmett's mother, Mamie, a war widow raising Emmett on her own, and she has a boyfriend who they're going to eventually marry, but she's essentially a single mom. She is shattered by the boy's death at the hands of white supremacists and decides to go into the belly of the beast with the assistance of the NAACP, including the young civil rights crusader Medgar Evers, and they're seeking justice in the Mississippi courts. Mamie is played by Danielle Deadwyler, an actress I wasn't familiar with until Till. And boy, she got my attention with a complex, full-blooded turn as a woman who refused to simply accept what was done to her only child, despite the odds against her getting the perps convicted of murder. Mark, along with Kate Blanchett in Tar, Ana de Armas in Blonde, and Aubrey Plaza in Emily the Criminal, Deadwyler is one of my choices for Best Lead Actress this year. Co-screenwriter and director Chinonye Chukwu delivers a stirring and tear-jerking indictment of racism. And this is a plague that has in no way disappeared from the American scene more than 65 years after this unthinkable crime. The supporting cast deserves a mention, including Whoopi Goldberg, who also is one of the producers. She plays Emmett's grandmother. Tosin Cole, recently of Doctor Who, as Medgar Evers, and a young actor named Jalen Hall, who plays Emmett. And, your heart will break, buddy, watching this thing, which is in theaters, and it will actually play well at home. But, movies like this deserve support.
Well, apparently, I mean, not only do they thematically hit the mark, but you're saying, based on what your review is, that performances, direction, in other words, the film itself just is virtuosity.
It's really good.
Which is a ding word.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's not at the level of the Banshees of Inisherin, but it is very, very good. And again, it's important. I can't believe, man, the only animal in the forest who trips over the same rock twice. Please stop racism.
Yeah, well said, sir. We have time for one more, I think. Yeah.
I'll just blister through it really quickly and give you an actual TV thing. The School for Good and Evil is an attempt to do a kind of Harry Potter-esque thing about a school where the characters from fairy tales go to learn to either be heroes or villains. They're split into two divisions. Two best friends in a small town end up being snatched away and brought to this school, and they're in the wrong sides of the school. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot of big name talent in the cast here. I mean,
wait a minute, they literally split the kids into those who are being groomed to be the good ones and those who are being groomed to be the bad ones?
Yes. And Charlize Theron plays the head of the School for Evil. Kerry Washington plays the head of the School for Good. And the overall headmaster is played by Lawrence Fishburne. They weren't messing around. They have talent here. And it's directed by Paul Feig, who made Bridesmaids, which I think is pretty hilarious. But he also, this is basically a half-ass script. They put a lot of money on the screen. And it's, you might, Kim, if you're going to watch with the family, you might enjoy it. It's on Netflix. It won't cost you anything if you have a Netflix account.
Yeah, and Kim, you have lower standards than the rest of us. You'd enjoy it probably.
I'm sorry.
That's not what I'm saying.
Why I oughta.
Who is having that conversation?
How rude.
I wish it had been better. And again, it looks pretty spectacular, but you need a good script that makes sense, that doesn't have like weird motivations and odd potholes and easy hand wavium ways out. Let's talk quickly.
Is that PG or PG-13?
It's I don't check your local listings, Kim.
Figure it out. Okay.
Can you let him finish?
Would you let him finish?
Google it.
Okay. I have to talk about two TV series that I fancy. Pennyworth, season 3, now saddled with the subtitle "The Origin of Batman's Butler," is out and in the middle of its run, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's a spinoff of the Batman saga, wherein the incredibly charismatic, out of nowhere, Jack Bannon, not Race Bannon and certainly not Steve Bannon, Jack Bannon plays ex-SAS officer Alfred Alfie Pennyworth, now a freelancer in an alternate universe version of London in the swinging 60s, complete with great British invasion era needle drops like Tin Soldier by the Small Faces. And there, as a British Civil War erupts, it's an alternate universe, Alfie meets Thomas Wayne, U.S. agent, and eventually the father of Bruce Wayne, and a few other reimagined members of the Batman family, and the fun begins. I really enjoy this. The cast includes British pop singer Paloma Faith, who steals every scene she's in as the opportunistic and quick to violence Bet Sykes. Pennyworth was on Epix for its first 2 seasons, but it's now on HBO Max. It's good fun in a sweet spot where James Bond meets political intrigue, the pop culture of the 60s, and superhero mythology. I dig it, man.
Well, and what's that called again?
Pennyworth.
Pennyworth. Okay, great. Good stuff. And that is on...
HBO Max, and it's 3 seasons, and it's basically unhinged, but I really enjoy it.
School for Good and Evil. He thought it was a little more evil than good. He was not crazy for it, was my sense of it. Till, though, the story of Emmett Till with social political relevance was filled with terrific performances and a really great offering. He encourages us to see it. Till, that's in theaters. The Banshees of, how do you say it?
Inisherin.
The Banshees of Inisherin.
Polish your Irish accent a little.
It's an Irish thing. He loved it. Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, director Martin McDonagh. It's all right there. That's in theaters. And Black Adam, The Rock, his crack at the DC universe misses. Michael did not like it at all. You can find Michael Snyder across social media as the Culture Blaster. You can find him here on Fridays. Sorry, I'm looking to find your harp because he comes and goes on a rainbow. Go Niners!
Go Niners! Bye, guys.